All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to, I guess, Access Succeed After Dark. I'm joined today by Faust as a absolute last minute schedule swap. Faust, thank you so much for being here on such short notice. I really appreciate your time. Um,
Hello, it's late.
yeah, it's late. It's a little after. It's around 11:30. Um, so audience, you'll forgive us if our energy is a little bit weird tonight. And furthermore, or furthering that point about our energy, we're talking about Zsolt today. Um, a character who people have opinions about. So we will do our best to remain objective. And provide all of the information that you need to play Zsolt, to play against Zsolt, maybe to not play Zsolt if you don't want to play Zsolt. Actually, legitimately really excited about learning this character. I know that he's a little bit infamous, and I don't 100% know why. I've kind of saved myself for this lesson, so I'm super excited to learn. Um, and I'm told that Faust is a great person to teach me Zolt, so I'm excited. So, a couple disclaimers, as always, before we get started. Number one, play Exceed for fun. By reputation, this might be difficult for your opponent when you're playing Zolt. Um, we're going to be talking about on the show about playing to win, how to pilot Zolt to mercilessly defeat your opponents. If that doesn't sound fun to you, if the lines of play that we're describing don't sound fun to you, don't play that way. Play the way you do find fun. And then disclaimer number two is we don't know everything. Um, Exceed's not a solved game. You're going to hear us talking a lot in terms of always do this, never do this. Um, uh, Take all of that with a grain of salt. Zolt, again, by reputation, is a character who people, especially the old heads of Exceed, know this character front and back, everything about him. Is one of like the most labbed characters in existence. He was like an infamous top tier in his day. Everybody knows how to fight him. Everybody knows how to play him. Even then, Exceed is not a solved game. If you have a different line for Zolt, if you have a different evaluation of Zolt, it doesn't mean that we're right and you're wrong. Tell us why we're wrong. Um, yeah. All that said, Faust, please, I'm dying to know a little bit about our friend Zolt here.
Well, I would like to start this lesson with like a little story because Zolt has a special place in my heart. Is it a good place in my heart? That's debatable, but he does have a place there.
Okay,
So, our story takes us back to the year of 2018, which I believe is 7 years ago, which makes me feel old now.
that's crazy.
When uh, Exceed was at a very big height in popularity, and one of the biggest tournaments that we'd ever had online, um, Match of Madness, I believe was the name, happened, and it was like 128 people online.
Mhm.
At that time, the two most popular characters to be played were Sajin and Zolt. And by the time you got out of preliminaries, which was there's like a bracket of four that you play with, and only two of those people made it to the top 64,
Right.
about 90% of the people that got to that bracket had Zolt on their team. And you could not go through a match without seeing this man. And I didn't have him on my team, but boy, did I play against him.
Every
Ah,
every match of every game of every match had a Zolt in it. Every player of every tournament had a Zolt in it. Um, when I was talking before, like this is for me, this is all by reputation, right? I was not around in the Exceed community when season two was competitively legal. I kind of came into it not long after it rotated out, and a lot of the people who were uh, more experienced in the Exceed community than I was, who remembered that time, the stuff they talked about was Zolt, and how exactly what Faust is saying, how prevalent, how in some cases obnoxious he was to fight against, how centralizing he was, and also how if you wanted to have any sort of success in a tournament, you needed to know how to deal with Zolt. Because you were
yeah.
absolutely guaranteed to run into him in a way that now that Exceed's roster is a little bit bigger, there isn't really. Maybe there's a couple of top tiers per season who kind of fill that niche, but season two was in competitive play for such a long time. I feel like everybody in the world, except me, crucially, that's why I can host this lesson, but everybody in the world like knew about Zsolt, which is a
Yeah.
kind of a rare thing in Exceed.
He was the Alice and Juno of season 2, where you basically had to know how to fight him because you would run into him.
Hmm.
But
Yeah,
yeah, that aside, he's pretty cool in design and concept and stuff. He's just slightly overtuned, to the point where he gets somewhat uninteractive once you get going. He's a
yeah,
very engine-driven character, and we'll
yeah.
see that. And he's pretty fun to play sometimes, and he's got a lot of wacky and neat things he can do. It's Yeah, I guess we'll just see.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, so you mentioned engine driven, engine based. This is a character from Seventh Cross, a season that is well known for characters who start pretty far behind the curve in terms of exceed power level, and then by the end of the game, they've kind of snowballed into a unstoppable juggernaut of a character that you have no hope of beating anymore. Just recently, I was talking to our shared friend Shizzy Mac about Renea. um, Many characters in Seventh Cross kind of exemplify that idea of building an engine on the board. And I'm given to understand that even in among Seventh Cross, Zolt's endgame is one of the most like oppressive that you can fight
Yeah,
against.
I think the only ones that really can stand up to Zolt for endgame might be either um, Galdred if he gets everything perfectly, or Renea.
Sure. Okay. And obviously, so like there's a couple different like levers that you can pull in terms of how to balance these things. It could be like a character who is completely unstoppable once they get going, but it's hard to get them going, versus a character who's really good once they get going, but it's very easy to get going. Um, so before we even talk about any of the cards, when we're thinking about how Zolt is how Zolt feels compared to other Seventh Cross characters, is he a character that like he's got to do some work to get there, but once he is there, it's the game is completely over? Or is it pretty easy to set him up?
It's a little bit strange for Zolt because really the only thing you need to do as Zolt is to exceed. So his exceed cost is 5, and he's got the Ouroboros symbol, so he can be reduced. So
Right.
really, you just need to flip over to actually do some of the crazy things. It gets better if you have 2 of your transforms, but they're not needed. So your whole goal is just to get to the other side of your character card.
Okay.
And that can be really easy because you could open with 2 EX transforms and then hit with the block and then just go. Um, it could be a grind because you can't hit anything.
Right.
Um, and like I've seen games where he's exceeded on turn 3, and it's just game over at that point
The
for the most
the
part.
game is over at that point. Okay. So unlike a character like I don't know, like Minato or Lucia, who really, if they're going to exceed, they it's possible for them to exceed too early. They don't have key transforms in place to like support their economy, so they're going to burn themselves out before they win the game, and that's it. Or Selenka is another one. Zolt is a character who the limitation on his end game is whatever resources that are required for him to exceed. In his case, that's a combination of gauge and transforms. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
And again, some of the transforms make it significantly easier to do things on the flip side, but they're not needed.
Right. Okay. And I mean, sometimes in the characters that I mentioned, the Lucia's, the Minatos, characters like that are frequently like they might have an easier time accruing resources on front side or uh confirming transforms on front side, and then their exceed side is like for paying out and ending the game. If Zolt does exceed too early, he can still just confirm his transforms on once he's already exceeded, right? That isn't really a problem for
Yeah.
him.
It's
Okay.
actually a lot easier to confirm his transforms on the flip side too.
Okay. So we should be planning to get off of our front side ability as quickly as possible, pretty much without any other considerations.
Yeah, also the front side ability might as well not exist. It's useful in like one situation.
Okay. Sounds
But
good. Yeah, so yeah,
let's
let's talk about it.
all right. So his front side ability is your normal attacks have hit, move up to 1. It's very similar to Chip, but I believe Chip's is on any attack.
Yep, and it's an after.
And yeah, and I believe you have. Do you have to move? I don't remember if you
I
have to
don't
move
think
on turn.
so. I think it's still optional. I can just pull chip real fast, but I'm
Yeah,
pretty sure this is yeah, you may advance or retreat one.
yeah,
And that's on an after, so that's you can whiff a grasp at range 3 and step out of range
yeah,
of a sweep, for example.
yeah. This one has to hit. It's only on normals, so significantly less useful. Means you can't step if like they cross out of you, or if you block because you can't able to block.
Okay, so what I would use this for among my normals would be to maybe I might be able to position or to dodge something with it. I can use my grasp to dodge a sweep, for example, in certain
Yes,
board states.
that is like the only thing that people really use it for the most part. Is
Okay,
that as long as you have room, you can dodge a sweep. If you can throw your opponent away and step back one, which is pretty
right,
solid because you just want gauge, and
right,
not
sure.
taking six is pretty good. Um, I've seen people use it with assault to go to range two after coming in, which can be useful, or to go over the opponent after assaulting into them if they want to do that. So that's not bad. If you're at range three and you play sweep, you can dodge your opponent's sweep by stepping back one, which if you're playing sweep on offense at range three, it's kind of risky, but it can be done.
Sure. Other things I remember from the chip lesson, again, not quite the same ability, but crossing out of the corner. If Ryu's got me here, for example. Oh, this is Ryu's entire deck. Hold on a second. If Ryu's got me here, for example, I could cross on hit, move to here, and then my after could get away.
Yeah,
Um, but first of all, it's just on my normals, and outside of being able to dodge certain effects, it seems like the most relevant part of this is that I could use it to position for my next strike. Right, my opponent
yeah,
strikes into me. Um, as long as I hit them back, I can maybe use their turn to set up my own turn.
yeah. And Zsolt doesn't really like being at one that much, so being able to not be at one after doing a lot of things is fine.
Okay. So and it's not like this is free value, right? This isn't a resource
Yeah.
I have to a resource cost. There's no opportunity cost on this other than when I exceed I won't have it anymore. So like this is just a cool thing that I can do when it comes up and it will come up occasionally throughout the game.
Yeah, it's not something you should focus on. It's just something that you can use to your advantage when you need it.
Okay.
It's just kind of nice, right? Like that's about it.
Makes sense to me. So
Um,
when we talk about Zolt, should we describe the fantasy first? Like, should we talk about the end game that we're going for and then talk about how to get there, or should we go through his cards first? I'm down to do it however you want to.
um, let's. That's a tough one because his Exceed mode is a whole monster in itself.
Right.
Let's just go over his attacks, and
Okay.
then we can get to his Exceed mode and come back to them. Because once we all have all the pieces to put together, then we can actually like use them in a way that makes sense better.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense to me. So while we talk about these attacks, you already mentioned it once when you mentioned the grasp sweep interaction. My goal when I'm playing them is not the value that I'm getting out of the attack. It's gauge or a transform. It's something that will get me to my exceed mode end game, correct?
Keeping more life, getting into a position that it makes transforms easier, hitting with transforms, hitting with attacks.
Okay.
Those are like the main thing. I mean, that's kind of like normal exceed play, but
Right. But
more so,
I'm not trying to set up a situation where I'm hitting for 7 to stun a sweep with Zolt on front side. I'm trying to plan for the long term
yeah,
and keep myself alive while I'm planning for the long term.
mm,
Okay.
yeah.
That makes
Although I
sense.
think keep yourself alive is a boost on a season seven character.
That's a
I
really
think
good
it's
point. And an
yeah.
excellent Queen song. Um Okay, so that's the lens that we'll be looking through all of these cards through. So yeah, I'm good to start with whatever card is most relevant.
All right. Well, let's start with the one of the most famous ones, just because it's a very season two card. This guy,
Yep, I've heard of this one.
yeah. Fatal Eye, range 1 to 3, power 1, speed 7. So it's an eye, and to be fair, it actually says it's an eye in the name.
Yep.
Um, and it's very interesting because this card and Turnlast also has a card that looks like this.
Yep, I'll
Are
grab it while you're talking.
basically yeah, are basically matched cards. Um,
I think like in the lore, Zolt like took his
yeah,
eye, right?
yes,
Something
he
like
did.
that.
And that's why the eyes would be opposite sides.
Yeah, that rules.
Yeah. So it's very cool. And they kind of do the same thing where they both have a way to boost power. Turnloss has his regular ability of getting transforms to boost power.
Right,
And Zolt's boost power for each transform that he has, which is like he stole it from Turnloss. So it makes sense that it gets stronger with every transform.
right.
Because that's what Turnloss does. And they both gain advantage. So it's just a very neat lore thing for the little tiny tidbits of lore that we have from
Yeah.
Seventh Cross.
Yeah, this is one of the reasons I think that Seventh Cross is so popular, that it is such a flavorful translation of story beats into mechanics. Like it just like these cards look cool. They have lots of cool little secrets like that in them, and it is fun to imagine these characters and see how they're translated into the game. It's just neat.
Yeah, and this is as much as we like the lore is cool and all that. This is a really good attack.
Yeah,
Um, it's above curve at 2 and 3. It can hit for 4. 7 speed, 4 damage is enough to break some 3 guarded cards.
sure. Yep,
Um,
things that can block a grasp, for example. This can muscle through.
yeah. Um, and there's also has a bunch of ways to add power to stuff. So, this can hit for a lot.
Okay.
Um, Also, it being fast is important, but we'll get back to that later. But overall, this is just a really good card.
Okay.
You can use it on defense to win the range 3 mix up for any fast card that your opponent wants to play. You can use it on offense to get a gauge, which, as we said, is very important. You're
Yep.
basically going to hit unless your opponent has a speed trap or something that's faster than this, which there are very few.
Right.
Um,
Outside of like they've already boosted up to specifically to dodge it,
yeah,
and even then it might not be enough.
you're looking at like Bangs or Chips Ultra or like some rare season 1 cards that have 8 speed on normals or
Yeah.
on normals.
Yeah, and the like I mean honestly like we were talking before the lesson started, Faust and I, about how like it's kind of whiplash going from like a season 6 character to a season 5 character to a season 2 character. They don't print cards like this anymore. Like numbers and exceed range 1 to 3 7 speed is not a special anymore. That's not something that you are allowed to do.
Yeah, and if it
Um
exists, it's usually either costs force or requires some sort of setup rather than just having raw on the card.
Sure. Yeah. So this is kind of my do everything button. It gets me a gauge which I want. I can use it to gain advantage. I It's a way to confirm bonus power if I have bonus power super consistently. This is just kind of an all-star of a card all over the place.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's very very good. This card is really useful when you're trying to get into your exceed mode, and it's also really useful when you're in your exceed mode, which we'll get to later. But it's just one of your best cards in the whole deck,
Okay.
just in general.
Okay. Makes
Um,
sense.
and then
Do you
the
want to
boost
talk
is
boosts at the same time, or do you want to just go
yeah
through the attacks?
yeah. Let's get the boosts.
Sure.
The boost is move 2 and then draw a card, so it's effectively move 2, draw 2 because you draw it into your turn. Is that
Right.
good? It's not bad. It's on this attack, so you probably don't use it, but it's not bad.
Okay. So you'll use it when you need it. It's
Yeah,
and you'll use it when you like really need it because you're giving up Fatal Eye.
yeah. I mean, it's good for getting out of the corner. He has some other ways to get out of the corner that he can use, but you can do it for that. You can use it if you really need to get in position and you can't spend cards in your hand. Sometimes Fatal Eye just isn't the card that you need right now, so you might use it for something else, but generally this card is just an attack and less so a boost.
Okay.
Like most cards where like one side is better than the other. There are situations when you'll use one half, but the attack is what we're here for.
You're pretty much always sad to give up Fatal Eye, and you should do it only when the situation is pretty desperate or when
Yeah.
you have a plan that specifically requires somersault.
Yeah, like you're going to kill your opponent next turn and you need to move 2 and keep the other cards in your hand.
Right. Okay. That makes sense to me. Um, shall we just go straight down the list?
Yep. All right, cross up. This card is pretty good. It's effectively a cross, but it does the opposite, where it advances over them instead of retreating. It also is an after and not a hit. So you can throw this when you don't hit the opponent and just move if you want to duck under something. I've seen this card used a lot to duck under slow projectiles or fast projectiles because it's speed 6. And usually projectiles aren't speed 6.
Sure. And so if you're using it as an attack, just like cross, it's on curve. Just like I mean, cross as a normal when you're using it in the range where cross hits, basically doesn't lose to anything.
Yeah, this
Um,
one does, though, because it puts you at range 3 if you use it on curve. So you'll still lose the sweep.
okay, and then using it under curve at range 1 as kind of like an ad hoc mid speed gets you far enough away, but now you're losing to grasps and things like that. So
Yeah.
there is more of a trade off than there is with cross. But on the other hand, you can use it when you're in the corner.
Yeah. I mean, you
Okay.
can use it in the corner to get out. You can use it when you're far away to get in. It's
Hmm.
also, if you just play it on curve, it's probably going to hit because it's on curve. And it's one of his best transforms.
Okay, and so it's easy to confirm this transform, and we want that because it's going to make our exceed cheaper. It's going to give us some value long term over the course of the game.
Yeah.
Um, so again, just kind of like a good card that's easy to use.
Yep.
Okay. Is this transform? I assume we're going to talk about it in just a second, but is this transform so important that it's difficult to use cross up as just a way to dodge projectiles?
Um, it's not actually that hard to hit, really. I mean, if you can get to range 2 and play it, generally you're going to hit it, even if you take some damage. So losing one copy isn't the end of the world. I will see
Okay.
people absolutely transform this with an EX transform if they have it without risking it.
Okay, but
Um,
it's not like there are definitely some cards that are some transforms throughout the season that are so inconsistent that like it's really hard to land them without EX transforming them. This isn't one of those. You
yeah,
can probably just do this most of the time.
yeah. It's not that hard to hit. And again, if you don't have this when you get to your exceed mode, the exceed mode makes it easier. So this is just it's not that hard to hit. You can use one to dodge something and then hit with the other,
Okay.
or you can EX transform it, or you can just play it.
Okay, makes sense. And a lot of times when like I know that Seventh Cross has like a very developed meta with these three cards, any card with a transform on them is going to give you value over the course of the game, and they're incredibly strong most of the time. Engine components. Your opponent will probably like be playing specifically to dodge that thing, right? So
Hmm.
they're going to keep EX Cross in their hand maybe to catch you out of this when you think you've confirmed it. They're going to hold any DPs they have to stop this. That's just kind of some Seventh Cross stuff, right?
Yeah, and it's really hard to just stop Zsolt from hitting things eventually because other than one attack, most of them are either on curve or above curve,
Right.
and it just makes being able to stop him from hitting you at all very difficult.
Okay. Makes sense. And so when we're looking to confirm these transforms, obviously the EX transform action is very strong and very useful. But for a lot of times, Zolt can probably just land the attacks.
Yeah, the other
Okay.
two are slightly harder, but even then they're not that hard to hit.
Right. Yeah. This one is. I mean, on curve at 2 also means that on initiation it just beats cross, and like the
Yeah,
like crossing out of a valuable transform, like a on curve range 3 transform or something, he's like the way you deny value in Seventh Cross. So being able to not only be on curve and be consistent, but be consistent enough to catch cross is
yeah,
pretty cool.
yeah, it's very good.
Okay. What does
And
this
then
what does this transform do?
yeah, the transform is Battle Fugue, which is the first time each strike you gain advantage, draw a card. And you may notice something, which is the first time each strike you gain advantage, draw a card. Zolt does have a way to gain advantage multiple times during a strike, and it doesn't do anything, but he can. Um,
And so
it,
the only reason that this is written this way is to prevent you from drawing way more cards than you should.
mhm.
Okay. Okay. Um so this is just like a free refund.
Yeah, whenever you hit with a card that gives advantage, you draw a card. I'm like, that doesn't seem that great on paper, but like it's effectively whenever you get advantage, whenever you use a card that says get advantage, you replace it. And when you're going to be running down your opponent, having more cards than them is very good.
Okay. Is this one of the cards that, or one of the transforms that is going to make more sense when we're talking about his Exceed mode and like when the
Yes.
engine has all come together? Okay.
But I mean, just imagine your assault now says gain advantage, draw a card. That's what this says it does.
Yeah, that's
And
already pretty great.
this fatal eye now says gain advantage, draw a card. Um, he has another special that gains advantage, and now it draws a card. And he has an ultra that gains advantage, and now it draws a card.
Okay,
So all
so
those get
lots
draw
of
cards
sources of
together too.
advantage already. All of them are going to be made that much better. So it's going to do some nebulous thing that's going to help us a lot when we've exceeded. But before
Yeah.
that, like this is not a dead transform by any means. We were
Oh
talking.
no, not at all.
I was talking to Shizzy Mac about Renea. Um, Double down the +2 power. If you have 2 continuous boosts in play, is an incredibly big transform for her. But until you've exceeded, it kind of isn't really doing anything for you.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to get 2 boosts and play on that one. Yeah.
Yeah, this is the opposite, where like until it's uh really good later on, it's just like a role player. It's just gonna get you a little bit of value over and over again.
Yeah, and it makes getting to your exceed mode that much easier because you may not have to prepare for one of your turns. You might be able to do something else.
Right. Okay. So prioritize this early on because it's gonna be valuable all game, but later on it's gonna be a really big deal.
Yeah.
Okay. Makes sense.
All right. Then you have Blaze of Fervor. This is like a weird assault because it doesn't hit at 1, but it hits at 4. If you play it at 4, it doesn't actually get you advantage. But if you play it at 4, it's above curve. It's a 2 to 4 projectile that does 4 power and 5 speed. So it's like a little hard to rationalize this card. It has hit advance 3, and if you move past the opponent, gain advantage. So if we're, you know, on the board here.
Sure.
Yep. Uh, sorry.
No, no
Uh,
worries.
it hits at 2, 3, 4. You advance past them at 2 and 3, and you either end up here or you end up here.
Right.
And then if you're at 4, you advance in and get to 1. So ideally, this card is best at 3, where it's an assault, except for you end up over your opponent.
Right.
It still
Which
loses to all the things that assault loses to, but it's got a little bit more and less utility.
okay. And like that's pretty strictly a side grade, right? Like if you
Yeah,
need to get over your opponent, it's better. If you don't, it's worse. But also assault is like good.
yeah. It also hits at 4 above curve, which is pretty good. And then you can't play it at 1, which is the thing. Like,
Right. Right. And I mean, range 1 assault is actually a very good mix up option if you still need it to be your turn.
yeah, a lot of
So
the like the weird mid speeds that do a lot of damage have 3 guard. So being able to
yes.
defend with a 4 power attack that's still fast is good.
Yep. Yep. My buddy Moriarty uses a range 1 assault play to eat a block so that he can kill you with Gabrek's big ultra.
Yeah, that's a
So
good one.
yeah, so range 1 assault is great. You can't do that with Blaze of Fervor. On the other hand, having like this shape, this above curve at range 4 shape, is much more common in Exceed now. Back
Yeah,
in Seventh Cross days, like Selenka had one. That's kind
Renee
of
has
it.
one.
Who does?
Renee has straight fire.
Oh, Straight Fire, sure, yeah. Not a common thing being able to go above curve at 4. So that actually is a little bit more of a uh an upside for Zsolt than it might
Yeah.
seem to like a more modern player.
And again, playing this at 4 is almost a guaranteed hit unless your opponent crosses out. So get your transform, get more gauge, get advantage, etc., etc.
Okay. Yep, that all sounds
Um,
good. So
the
probably going to be pretty easy to get the transform. You already mentioned not quite as easy as cross up because this one
yeah,
you can't even cross out of.
yep.
Okay,
Yeah, and cross up generally you're going to find yourself at 1 and 2 more often than you're going to find yourself out at 4 unless you're on opener.
sure.
Yep. All
Okay,
right. So the transform, Mad Dog. This transform is his least useful, but again, if you transform this, it's 2 gauge towards your exceed mode, which is the main reason you're going to do that. If
right.
you're already in your exceed mode, you're probably not transforming this because you don't need it.
Okay, it's just gauge at that point.
Yeah,
Okay,
and gauge is actually very useful for Zolt, and I guess we'll get to that later.
sure.
But Mad Dog is when you initiate a strike, you may spend 1 force. If you do, your attack has +1 power. it has uses on the front side, like having your sweep do 7 is not bad because then you break your opponent's sleep, or having some other breakpoint like that where you get right over the threshold that your opponent can't defend themselves at. But one force for one power is not a great return. The other thing is you have to do it when you initiate a strike, and it's before your opponent sets. So you can't do it on defense,
Right.
and your opponent knows it's happening,
Right.
and you're getting rid of resources.
All of which is super relevant when compared to the upside you get out of one power. If it's to hit a breakpoint, awesome. If it's not, like, that's a slightly more progress on your opponent's life bar, that might not be worth a force.
Yeah, you can kill your opponent on your flip side. You don't need it on your front side to do more damage.
Okay. Okay. So I'm transforming this every time I get it on front side so that it will make my exceed side cheaper.
Yeah,
When I have it transformed, I am not really often going to use it.
yeah. You're not really. I mean, again, like the situations I can think of are sweep into sweep. Your sweep now breaks their sweep, so that's an upside.
Yep.
Or I don't know, your opponent has some 4 guard option that's really dangerous, and
Sure.
you put it on your other Blaze of Fervor or your Assault.
Sure. I mean, we've got Ryu with Donkey Kick.
Donkey kick,
There's
yeah,
so many. There's hundreds, not hundreds. There's more. There's more than 50 uh good 4 guard specials out there that are going to matter to you in a lot of matchups. So like it could be relevant, but unless like your opponent has demonstrated that it is, it sounds like you kind of just don't care about this.
yeah.
Yep. Makes
Great.
sense.
Good crack. This card is really cool shape. Again, 2 to 4, 3 power, 4 speed, so less power, less speed. Hit, push or pull 1 after advance or retreat 1.
Oh,
So
that's a lot of positioning.
yeah, it's very good when you need to get yourself into a position because you can end up here if you need to rearrange 2. You can end up like still at range 4, just push back. You can end up at range 6.
Yep.
These are mandatory, so you do have to do it if you can. So it's not like you can pull your opponent in and stay where you are. Um, so it's just generally good because you can avoid coming in to get hit by slows. You can avoid staying out to get hit by slows. It's on curve at 4. You can play it at 2 and dodge a sweep. Worst comes to worst, you can play it at 2 and dodge a focus.
Okay. So, and like those are all like that's all great. Being just like our character ability, being able to dodge an attack that your opponent would otherwise have been able to hit you with is great. That's free value. But also it like your positioning for later in the game matters. And being
Yeah,
able to set that up is just like good is like a good thing to do.
if you can like initiate with this, hit it, go to 2, and then hit with cross up, your like game is almost over at that point. Double
Okay.
transforms you both of your good transforms, and it's just very bad for your opponent if that happens.
Okay. Okay.
It
So
was
they need to
actually
be
very
very, very careful if they're at range 4 striking into you. Because if they initiate on curve, you've got Blaze of Fervor. If they initiate below curve, they've got uh, a really, really dangerous positioning tool that will let you set up your other really scary thing.
yeah, and then they also have a slow over here, which we'll get to. That is the third option if they play it fast.
Okay, so you have the entire mix up ready to go at range
Yep,
4. Okay, good,
yeah.
good to know.
Um, and Whipcrack has one of the better transforms. I still think this one is probably more important, but this one is close. This
Okay,
one is press the attack. When you initiate a strike, you may spend 1 force. If you do, your attack is +1 speed. +1 speed is significantly better than +1 power.
sure.
It means your
Um,
dive at range 3 is now speed 5 on one side. It means that maybe that option that was below curve is now on curve or above curve. So you're going to hit it, which means you're going to get that gauge. You're going to get advantage. You're going to do the thing you need to get to flip over and win the game.
right. So this is a domino effect. You get this, it makes everything else easier to land. you would be much more likely to spend a force to confirm something to get value out of it than spend some force to increase the upside of something that you're already hoping to hit with.
Yeah,
Correct? Okay.
yeah, and just because this mix up and this guy exists, one of the most common things you'll see people do on opener against Zolt is mulligan for cross so they can play it so he doesn't get anything from his
Right.
if he's going first.
Okay. So you like the threat of opening turn, opening position, whip crack to get this transform in play is enough that your opponent might be willing to just empty cross out to deny you that first strike worth of value.
Yeah, because there's no other normal that dodges this. You
Right.
can't if you assault it and you still get hit by it. You can't use anything else because you either still get hit or you don't dodge it. Um, so if Assault initiates to this and you don't have an above curve option, the only thing you can do is cross to not let him hit it.
Right. Okay. And does Zolt have? I know some zoner type characters have answers even to a empty cross. It doesn't look to me like Zolt has. I actually, yes, he does. He's got not in opening positions, not for Fatal Eye.
He does technically have an answer to open cross. It's just that it's his ultra, so you
Okay.
can't play it on opener.
Okay. Your opponent's going to corner themselves doing that. You might need to capitalize on that to confirm some damage
Yeah.
later on. Um,
Typically, if the opponent crosses out, Zolt will just change cards to look for transforms at that point.
sure.
That's
Yeah.
what, yeah.
Yeah. He's no longer under threat unless their opponent is a zoner.
Yeah.
He can just
Even yeah. And then even then they're range 6. So like not even all zoners have a range 6 option.
sure. Sure. So he's just going to build resources, and if you give him time to, like a lot of seventh cross characters, if you give him time to get everything he wants, he's just going to win off of the value of that.
Yeah.
Okay, makes sense. Makes sense.
All right.
So our transform priority list. This one, then this one, then this one.
Generally, yes.
Okay.
Theoretically, this one could be more important depending on your matchup, depending on how fast your opponent is.
Okay.
Um, but this one is always good. This one is almost always good. This one is almost never good.
Okay. Makes sense. And both of these also are going to be doing something to help us all the time, not just as
Yeah,
part of our like big end game payout. I can use speed to confirm my other stuff. I can use my card draw to draw into other stuff and just kind of sustain myself over the course of the game. These are not just payout levers. They're
yeah,
valuable all the time.
yep,
Okay, that makes sense. So I've got this ability to spend force for value. I've got the ability to spend force for value that's a little bit less appealing, and I have something that gives me some force. Am I starting to see like part of the Zolt paradigm here, where I need a lot of force to be able to spend it in a lot of places on a lot of different effects?
yeah. And there's one more effect that is his Exceed mode that he'll spend force on. That is the main one, and he will bleed force like no tomorrow when he starts using that. But
Okay.
generally, the opponent will be dead before he runs out of cards.
Okay. Okay. So this transform then is really crucial just to give me a little bit of extra card draw to keep whatever combo I'm doing going.
Exactly.
Got it. Okay.
All right. Then we have Gunblaze. This card is ridiculously good, both halves. You save this card as long as you can because it does so much for you. First off, even if you just had no other text, it's a 1 to 4 sweep. It doesn't do 6 damage, but it's a 1 to 4 sweep. That is a good shape. Um, it hits for 3, but then we have the other things which are before if you were hit during the strike, +2 power or draw 2 cards, and then hit close 3. Um, if you need to do damage, it can do 5 as a 1 to 4 sweep. If you need to draw cards, it draws 2 cards and it closes in. This card is ridiculously good.
Yeah, that's like closing in. If you need to close in, that's force, right? So this is some kind of force efficient movement. It's super consistent. It's easy to land. Like sweep is easy to land, but you can't even cross out of it. That's gauge. Um, the card draw sounds good because you already said that I'm going to need a lot of force. Extra power on hit or on before, which is an odd timing for a bonus power effect, I guess. But that's
Yeah, it's a lot of the power nowadays is hit add power. Um, this is before. I don't actually know if there's a reason, any like real difference. If I don't think there's a power dodge in the game where it's like if your attack is this much power, it doesn't hit, but
I don't
that could
think
be
so.
relevant if it's ever printed.
Maybe
Um,
do you like if you have the ability to spend force during a strike, you might need 2 cards. But
yeah, I don't think, or I guess Zolt can do that actually for something else, but yeah, it's generally you're gonna draw 2 cards at this. Maybe you'll add +2 power if you need to, um, but yeah, it's a good card. I mean, if you play this on opener on defense, there's no normal that this doesn't like counter. They're either gonna dive you, or if they initiate with sweep, you come in after them. If they initiate with focus, all right, sure, they initiated with a focus and tried to call you out, but then
right,
they lost to your other mix up. Um, and again, it's a 1 to 4 sweep. They can't cross out at range 1 from you. They cross
yeah.
out, and then you come right back in, and you now tied in life. You both did 3, and you drew 2 cards.
When you were saying this could have no other text on it, it's a 1 to 4 sweep. It's like, yeah, like that's if what you want is gauge and a consistent, easy to use thing on defense. Hello, like that's
Yeah.
all it really needs to be good, and then there's additional upside on top of it. Um, you mentioned something about saving this card for as long as you can. So does that mean that like you're holding it as a threat over your opponent?
That's one thing. This card just answers most things. Like, unless you're breaking this, it's probably going to hit you. The opponent has to either dive over you or move all the way across the board to dodge this. So
Right.
you're getting a gauge or probably getting some extra value out of it. It's just really hard to not get hit by this in general if they play it on defense. Like they have to cross out at range 2, and they go to 5, and then he still gets to draw 2 cards.
Oh yeah, he does, and that's most of what you care about. Like, okay, the gauge
Yeah,
is important too, but
yeah.
but like that's okay. That's probably why it's a before effect then.
Uh,
That you can get it even if you were hit but won't hit back.
yeah,
Okay. Um. All right. Uh consistent, consistent,
yeah, and
consistent.
then we haven't gotten to the bottom part. The bottom part of this card is a boost that can never be printed again. I can tell you that, or at least
Mm.
not in this state. The bottom part of this card is seeing red, and because this boost exists, there is a rule that you generally have to kill Zolt from 7 health to 0 in order to not die to him randomly.
I've heard of this actually. I think back when I was still like first coming into the Exceed community, people were talking about like Zolt at 5 life or less
Yeah,
is a monster, and it's because
yeah,
of this.
yeah. So this card is draw 6 cards, reduced by 1 by for every 4 life you have. So if you're at 6 or less life, then you draw 6 cards.
Right,
That's right. 24. Yeah. Okay. Oh no, for every 4 life you have. So if you're 3 or less life, you draw all the cards.
right,
Math. It's late. Hard. Um. Yeah. If you're 3 or less life, you draw 6 cards. Then there's the other part. If you have 5 or less life, take another action. Action compression did not really exist in seasons 1 and 2. There were some rare ones. Renea has one, and she's really busted. Like it action compression was so good that generally the things that did that were on ultras. Like
sure.
not to like skip around, but Wild Hunt has a boost that's move 1, draw a card, take another action, and that's something in ultra where this is a special. And like nowadays we have cancels, and season 6 has a lot of things that lets you do something in strike, and even
Right.
season 4 and 5 had things like that. But back then it just wasn't a thing.
Those were like so the general like paradigm of Exceed balance has changed over time to favor action compression instead of I don't know fierce and light. Like numbers were a little bigger, or like eye shapes. Like what what Seventh Cross is supposed to have instead of action compression are transforms and old school boosts and things like that. Zsolt just has both.
Yeah.
Okay. So
If you want to compare this to something nowadays, this if Zult is at 3 life, this is draw 6 cards, take another action. As a
right.
special boost, that doesn't cost anything. Obviously, you're at 3 life, but um, for example, uh, Ragna has a boost that's 1 force on his Ultra. That's draw up to 5 cards, lose that much life, take another action. That's a
Yes.
force. It's on an Ultra, and it costs him 5 life.
Yes. And
This
he'll
can draw
play and
6.
he'll mash that button. That's an
Yes.
amazing ultra. That's an amazing
Um,
ultra boost.
yeah, it's very good.
I went so many games of Ragna before I ever played Devoured by Darkness, the ultra that boost is printed on, because I love that boost so much. And this is in certain game states so like so far outclassing it that it almost feels like a different game
Yeah, you
on a
can.
special for free.
Yeah, if you can hold both of your copies of this for when you get pushed below 5 life, you can boost both of them, draw 10 to 12 cards, and then do something else.
Right. So you don't. So you overdraw. You don't. Then you strike with your other action, presumably. So you don't
Yes.
spend those cards, or you don't have to discard those cards.
Yep.
Um.
And Zolt can definitely use all of the cards he gets.
Okay. So the threshold. So you'll use Gunblaze all game. You're happy to use it all the time. But if you can get below 5 life, suddenly
5 or less. Yeah, five
this
or less.
this boost is a game changer.
Yeah.
If you're I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, one of the things that happens a lot of the time when you're playing Insult for the first time or just you're not familiar is you'll be at like 20 life. You feel like you're winning. You'll push Zolt down to 4 life, and then you'll never hit him again because he draws 12 cards and then proceeds to kill you, where you can never win another strike for the rest of the game.
Okay. All right. So like there's no comeback too big for Zolt to make if you can get this.
We had a tournament that wasn't actually too far long ago. I think it was in 2024, where we had season 1 and 2 legal, just for like a legacy tournament.
Yep.
And Chizzy Mac, who you just had an interview with, had Zult on his team.
Yep.
I was playing Heidi, who is one of my favorite and probably my best season 1 character. I was 26 life up, and I pushed Zult down to 3 life because I couldn't actually kill him. And at the end of the game, I had 2 life.
And so
And yeah, and the only reason
brought
I killed him is because I read him into playing block into my ignore armor special.
so he crawled back 24 life. Well, 21 life, I guess, because
Yeah,
he had 3. But
yeah,
like unbelievable comeback potential
yeah,
on this character. Apparently, I assume from his Exceed mode that we'll get to in a
yeah,
second. But
yeah.
so for seeing red, if I boost this before I've hit the 5 life threshold, am I basically just like wasting a ton of value?
Most of the time, yes. I mean,
Okay.
it could be like draw 3 or 4 for boosting it,
Right.
but like that's fine. I mean, draw 3 or 4 on a boost for a special is okay. If it's 3, you're basically getting 1 extra for changing cards. If it's 4, then it's like the point where it's like, okay, this is pretty good.
Right.
So you know,
So you'll use it if you absolutely need a big reload, but it's
yeah.
not as big a reload as it could be, and it's also no action compression, and that is the the key to Zolt's like success, it sounds like.
And think of it this way: you can play the attack and draw 2 cards if you really want to, and you get a gauge.
True.
Versus the boost, if you're only drawing 3 cards, even 4 cards, the gauge might be worth more.
Right. And this is also a thing where the card is guiding you on how to use it, because if you are at a low enough life threshold to take another action with seeing red, you cannot get good value out of Gunblaze because you'll die before
Well,
before you get to use the effect on it.
well, maybe the Gunblaze is can be used for other things in his Exceed mode, even if you're not using Seeing Red. But again, I keep alluding to it, and we'll get there. Like I don't know, the light in the distance that explains everything. But
Right.
yes,
Yeah,
you can use this
I am
card.
intrigued.
Yeah. All
Okay.
right, but those are specials. As you've seen, all of them are consistent.
Yep.
All of them are either on curve or really, really easy to hit if they're below curve with Gunblaze. Oh, I have stolen Gunblaze. Um, and the transforms, these two transforms are good. This guy is like maybe if you're on your front side, you need to gauge.
Right.
And then uh, two of them give advantage. This one draws cards. Both of these reposition. Like all really good things.
Sure.
Let's get to his ultras. And I'm gonna preface with something on his ultras. I have played against Zsolt a long, long time.
Yep.
I have never seen someone actually play one of his ultras and pay the cost for them.
Okay. Uh,
They're not bad, but the boosts are usually better, and he can cheat these into play with the succeed mode. So I've
okay.
I've I've never seen someone actually pay the gauge cost to play these.
Okay. So if I'm going to see them as an attack, it's going to be in the late game as part of my end game. Before that, they're
This
probably just
Yeah.
boosts.
Wild Hunt you can actually play. There are situations where it's very good. I just have never seen Zolt in a situation where he'd play it over exceeding.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
um,
The 3 gauge getting me farther away from my win condition sounds like a non-starter to me, given everything else that you've talked about and have alluded to so far.
so Fanatical Purification. This is a really weird attack. It's range 1, power 6, speed 4, before close 3. So it's on curve at 4, and then it's hit push 2 and gain advantage.
Okay.
It's almost like, honestly, this could probably be like a really good force special if it was in Modern Exceed. Like, it's not quite good enough to be an Ultra, in my opinion, unless your kit is like really good with it. Um, I don't know. It I assume I'm going to get shown that there is an ultra that exists right
No,
now.
no, no. I think you're completely right. It's not a force special, but it's like a centerpiece of a kit.
Yeah,
It's Totsugeki,
yeah,
or pretty close to it.
yeah. I mean, you pay 1 to get 2 power, and then this is even
And then
better. This is
and
faster too.
this is not a force special because force specials don't exist in Guilty Gear, but like when they were designing May, like in the Guilty Gear fighting game, Totsugeki is infamous for being this belligerent, incredible option that she has. It would feel really weird if this card wasn't incredible. So like
Yeah,
it feels like a force special. It feels unbelievably good.
I mean, if
So
you pay
yeah,
the
I
force for her ability, it becomes a force special, and then it's the same power.
yeah, basically I think I found something that basically proves you exactly right if we think about it the right way. So yeah, that makes perfect sense to me, and I can see that comparison.
Yeah.
Um, so when you're using this,
Hmm.
um, again, you're doing it when it doesn't actually cost gauge, or you're cheating it into play or something, and then it's just like pretty good. It sounds like.
Yeah, it's good. And for Zolt, just a card that is good is not good enough.
Fair enough. Okay. Okay.
Um, Yeah. The boost itself is really interesting. Your force and gauge costs are reduced by 2 to a minimum of 0. So all of
Hmm.
those things that we just saw that are like, hey, pay a force to do this, now are 0 when this is in play. Obviously, you're paying a force and an ultra to do it. So,
Right.
um, there's that. His exceed mode gets significantly better when this is in play, which we'll get to. And you can play these ultras for 1 gauge, which is fine. But the most important thing about this that a lot of people don't think about is that you can boost this, and then your seed cost is 2 less because it makes all of your gauge cost less.
Right. So your opponent needs to strike into you right now.
Yeah, you strike into you or tech it or something.
Okay.
And a lot of the time you'll end up like this, or something, or like in a situation where they'll boost this, and then if you strike into them, they hit you with this 1 gauge wild hunt that does 12. Or you don't strike into them, and they get to exceed for less gauge.
Right. So it's almost a checkmate.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's an interesting boost. It's really good on the exceed mode when you really want to go ham. You can use it with these things to pay extra force. You can use it in this situation to set up a position where your opponent has to tech it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we have this like there's a similar thing on Hazama, who has a boost that reduces force
Force cost by one.
expenditures.
His
Yeah,
yeah,
when uh when multiple force costs happen in the same strike, they're all reduced, right? So if you have if you paid I don't know, that you put this down, they pass turn to you, you decide to strike with Wild Hunt. Uh, two less gauge. When you initiate, um, you may spend one force. If you do, your attack has a +1 power. That's free.
yeah,
So's this.
yep,
All of them separately are reduced by 2.
yep. If you've
Okay.
done a lesson on Treasure Knight, he's a good example of that because his UA is that.
Oh, sure.
His
Yeah,
UA,
it's
yeah,
just reducing force costs flat out to
yeah. You get one force for free whenever you spend force,
right,
and if you have
and
four times you spend force, then each one of
each
them is reduced by
individual
one.
expenditure. Right. Sure. Okay. So if they do pass turn, suddenly these become uh it seems like non-optional, right? Like why would I not do it?
I mean, you're probably going to exceed if you get the chance for like less of this. Striking with these is great. Again, his succeed mode with this goes absolutely wild, and it's not even fair. But
Okay.
you only got two of these, so
Okay. So it's also an expensive boost. It's a one force
yeah,
ultra boost. So it sounds like save it for when I need one of those things. When it's
yeah,
time for me to exceed and I need a little bit more a little bit cheaper gauge. I'm in my exceed mode, I need to kill my opponent. Something like that.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
All right, we got Wild Hunt. This is the one that you might actually play, and it's usually in a situation where like you're on the other side of the board and your opponent can't hit you.
Right.
Um, 153, no guard, no armor. So like it's below curve, but before it close to 8 for each space move this way plus 1 power. It's like Gyro Dive Smasher sort of. Um, and then after advance as far as possible. He's literally running you over with his motorcycle, which is kind of what's in the art.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you're at range 8, you move in 7, you hit for 12. Your opponent has to have a range 8 option, and this card hurts a lot.
And like outside of this board state, is this kind of it? Like this is like the time you would use it?
Like these are also kind of okay if your opponent can't um like hit you back.
Right.
But if you're at closer, they can dive in to take less damage. And 3 gauge is a lot.
Sure.
If you're spending 3 gauge, then you either had to have 3 gauge, and you didn't use to exceed. And Zsolt doesn't often have 3 gauge on his run side because a lot of the time he hits with his transforms, and you don't put those in your gauge.
Right. Right. Sure. Okay. So I can't threaten anything else when I'm this far out. I don't have any other specials that hit this far. What I'm doing out here in the first place is if I wind up here, I'm changing cards to build resources anyway. And
Usually,
I'm sorry, go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah, it's okay. Usually, what ends up happening is they cross out of a range 4 option and go over here so that you don't hit, and then that's where that situation arises.
Right. Right. Okay. So but I guess my point is that this is not valuable enough to me that I would ever intentionally go here to set this up.
Yeah.
Okay. But if I find myself
Usually,
in this position, cool, I'll do it.
yep, absolutely.
Okay. Okay.
Then the boost is heightened reflexes, move one, take another action. As I said, it's quick step. Quick step didn't exist. It's very good. It's on an ultra because that's how valuable that effect was at the time.
Right.
Um, there's like a few characters that have something similar. Renea and Eugenia, not Eugenia. Is Eugenia? What's the Cthulhu one? Umina.
Yes.
Renea and Umina have a transform that basically says when they do the thing they want to do, they can pay a force to move one. So it's kind of like quick step. Um, so it's like this effect is very premium when you have the power of transforms and a UA that breaks the rules of time and space and the ability to move one and do something else.
Right. Okay.
you
Okay.
will you will chuck this ultra into the garbage to use it because this effect is so good.
Right. Okay. And on a character who is this expensive. It sounds like who has a lot of
Uh,
ways to spend force. Is it also important that these ultras are just worth 2 force?
honestly, 2 force versus 1 force is not a big thing for Zolt. He spends it usually in increments of 1. I
Hmm.
don't think there's anything in this kit other than block that spends it in increments of 2.
Okay, so other than like maybe change cards fodder to dig in my deck for
Yeah, or block
transforms.
or something.
Yeah. Okay. Other than that, this is attack or boost, and probably for both of them boost most of the time.
Yeah.
Outside of
The
my exceed
attack,
mode.
yeah, the attacks are useful in Exceed mode, but we're about to get there. Don't you worry, anyone else is watching. We'll explain everything.
Okay. All right. Yeah, anything else you wanted to mention about the cards themselves before we actually talk about the engine?
Now let's get to the engine.
All
Now
right.
now we put everything together. We'll show you why Zolt is the monster that he is.
All right. I'm dying to know.
All right. This is a lot of text. It's a big amount of things. So, up to twice per turn, after executing an attack that hit the opponent, you may spend 1 force to execute an additional attack from your hand, and it can deal a maximum of 1 damage.
Okay.
Now, I'm going to note a few things. So, executing attack is not the same as playing a strike. When you execute an attack, that means you don't have to pay for any costs that are in the corner of the card. So if Zolt had a force special, he wouldn't pay for it, or his ultras, he doesn't have to pay for them.
Okay.
So
But
he can
but
hit.
they but his ultras would do 1 damage because of
Yes. So
okay.
even the extra damage from this wouldn't help you,
Right.
but that's not the reason you do it. The other thing to note is that all of the damage from his attacks add up together to break guard. So, for example, if he swept you, and then played a grass that did 1 damage, it would be 7 damage towards your opponent's guard.
Okay.
So you could break a sweep that way.
So if nothing else, I can read this as constant as long as I have the force +2 power.
Yeah. It's a
Okay.
lot of force to pay because you're basically paying 2 force and 2 attacks.
Right.
But you're playing the attack. If you hit your opponent with 3 attacks, all 3 go to your gauge.
Oh. Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. So Faust, our shared friend Blue, we were talking about how to approach the Zolt lesson, who could run it, all of doing some scheduling stuff. And he told me that if no one was around to run Zolt, we could just have a guide the entire text of the guide was just you can spend gauge as force.
Yes.
Okay. I think I understand the line now. So
Yeah.
I I play an attack. I hit with it. I put 2 more attacks in place. They both go to gauge. Now I have gauge. I've probably gained advantage over the course of that strike, and now I can do
Yep.
more stuff on my turn.
And you've probably drawn a card because of this.
Right. Okay.
All
Okay, so
right.
yeah, walk me through some of the crazy stuff I can do with this.
I'm gonna get you another thing I need to clarify.
Okay.
Let's say we're here, right? Ryu decides that okay, I need to play sweep because uh, you know something needs to happen. And let's just say Ryu has Way of the Warrior in play, so this is a speed for sweep. So
Right.
Zolt can't play Spike because you can't spike a speed for sweep. So Zolt decides to play Fatal Eye.
Okay.
Zolt is going to hit Ryu first and deal I don't know 2 damage because he's got his bonus power from having transformations to gain advantage.
Right.
Then Zolt is going to spend 1 force and play this spike, which is at speed 7 because it goes at the same speed as the initial attack. Deal
Okay.
1 damage, which ignores armor and guard. And
Stun
because of that
sweep.
1 damage ignores the armor and guard, it stuns the sweep.
Okay, because this is a passive effect that just always happens when you hit with spike, which you're doing when you execute the attack.
So all of the cards happen at the speed of the original card that you played.
Okay.
So the speed 7, the speed 6, speed 7, speed 5, and
Right.
then on top of that, you can add more speed with this transform.
So all of this stuff there other than damage, the rest of the attack happens as normal, right? So
Yeah.
if I'm in this position and Ryu responds with sweep and I don't know, I throw grasp or something.
Yeah.
And then I say, okay, so in addition to the grasp, I also play cross.
Yeah.
I hit with those things, and then my after triggers, and I back up and get out of the way of the sweep anyway.
You could also do I'm going to throw Ryu to range 3 and then spike him because spike now hits.
Right. Okay. So the hit happens. I execute the attack. I perform all of the effects on the card. I
Yeah,
set up whatever range I want with grasp, and then dive him to get over the
yeah.
uh,
Take
so you
damage.
can't hit me anymore. Spike him
Yeah,
so he gets stunned. Something like that.
yeah. You could cross out. You could play any of these other attacks that do things. That's why these ultras are good in exceed mode because before it close 3 hit push 2 gain advantage. That just slapped onto a card is really good. Before it close 8 and then after advance as far as possible is really good. You could like be here, put Rio plays a sweep, you hit him with your sweep, and then you go all the way to the other side of the board.
Right.
Um, and the part that makes this so crazy is that you just have to hit first.
Right.
And then you can play whatever you want after knowing exactly what card your opponent has already played because they revealed it already and they have shown you what they're going to do.
It's all an option select. Okay.
Yes.
So what
You
this
could,
looks like in practice then is every time I'm doing this, it's costing me one force and one force for the effect and a card to
yep,
attack with.
which is generally one of your gauge that you just generated from a lot of things.
From the previous time I did this last turn. Oh, also this is on defense, isn't it? Like this is up
Yes,
to twice per turn. It
yeah,
doesn't say on initiation. I can just do this whenever.
you can be a range 3, defend with Fatal Eye, and then spike them because why not?
Right. It's a good thing I have so many above curve options that are super safe and easy to use on defense then.
Um, yeah, you can use it on defense. I mean, you can do other things like your opponent assaults into you, you defend with sweep, and then you add your assault to the sweep so you take advantage back.
Okay, true. So you don't even have to hit first, you just have to hit, and you can probably find some way to get value out of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, that's
it's also
ridiculous.
it's also just really hard to stop him because advantage, 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 and then assault advantage. 8 cards in his deck give advantage.
Right.
And usually they don't have to be the card he played because he just puts them on in some other attack, gets advantage, draws a card, takes another turn, has more cards in his gauge to go through, has seeing red to say, hey, I have 6 more cards and I get to go again. Oh, and
Right.
you're still dying because we're still punching you. Good luck.
So the things I've heard about Zsolt from my time in the community before this lesson, one word was linear, right? That you are doing kind of the same thing no matter what your who your opponent is. You have the same game plan. The other is
Yeah.
non-interactive, and
Yeah.
sometimes non-interactive in Exceed means like your opponent can't really productively strike into you because you are so controlling or something, right? But with Zolt, it's not interactive because you just take all the turns in the row.
Yeah, you play solitaire with your cards, and your opponent just puts a card down, hopes that they don't die, and eventually Zolt will stop kidding you, and you're either already dead or
Right.
you're so far behind that it doesn't matter anymore, and you just can't catch up.
Okay.
And it's just really hard to get ahead of Zolt because you need to go first and have an above curve option so that you stun him out.
Right.
Or you need to have a defensive option that somehow works against him being able to play whatever 3 attacks he wants to play, including spike, dive, going
Right.
across the board, going 4 spaces, pushing you to, doing like 7 to 8 damage, pushing or pulling you and advancing or retreating, closing 3, and then on top of that, you can also use cross too to get out of the way. He can play block at the end of it, and then
Right.
he still gets to add armor to himself when you punch him back.
So God, that's actually crazy. So the one thing I can think of that could deal with this would be like I'm not Ryu, but I'm here. Uh and so Zolt can't dive over me, and I have inevitability from Ulrich's kit. And like that seems like it'd be it. It's like stun immune, so it can't uh deal with spike. Um Full board close. That's the only thing that could possibly hit him if you have access to everything.
Even inevitability in this position doesn't stop him. You can play Wild Hunt to get up here. You could then play a Grasp to throw him here, and then you could
And then
dive
die
over him.
with it.
Yeah,
That rules. That if you do that, you get an achievement. Like in Tabletop Simulator, a little thing pops up.
Yeah, again, you have to play the ultra, but again, you probably have like 7 gauge at that point because you put
Right,
so many.
because you've done this over 2 turns and you've just built gauge
Yeah,
like crazy.
yeah. I don't really think there's any attack in the game that Zsolt can't solve with enough cards.
Okay,
Because it's like, what do?
right,
Zsolt can spike you or dive you, which are like usually the things that are the end all be all of. If you're not stun immune, this beats you, and
right,
if you're too slow, this beats you.
right.
So it has to be like a stun immune that they can't move over you that covers almost the whole board.
Yeah,
Um, I don't know. I guess speed traps would do stuff to him. At the time, the only person that had a speed trap was
was
Joffrey,
Joffrey.
and Joffrey was very good.
Yeah, okay. S-
Um,
So, and I mean, he's the fun police, right? He's got compulsive
yeah,
purification. This boost doesn't work anymore. Um, he's got some tech that he can use to deal with Zolt. But
yeah,
okay, so but just like the sheer number of attacks that he can beat, the we're presupposing that he has access to everything in his kit all at once, and obviously the force cost maybe he can just afford because he's got this boost. He can just find everything. But it seems like the actual limiting factor is that you don't have any recursion and you have option bleed in Exceed. You will run out of spikes or dives or something, and if you use them earlier in the game, you actually don't have them anymore. So is like that kind of it? Like that's like the only thing that actually can stop me is if I don't have access to any more copies of the thing I need.
pretty much. I mean, after he exceeds, you really can't play slow cards. He has so many
Right.
ways to move him and you that if you play a slow card, you're not going to hit unless he has messed up royally.
Okay.
If you play a fast card, you're either not fast enough, or you hit him first and you usually stun him. And if he's initiating, he has wind speed ties and has an extra speed if he needs it, or
Right.
he has Fatal Eye, Cross Up, Blaze of Fervor, to be on curve or above curve, and then Gunblaze. He can even play this as his first attack, tank through whatever you played if you played it fast, and then hit you for extra damage or reposition or whatever.
Right.
Um, and it's
So
like,
so
yeah,
they're like whatever my opponent needs to do to deal with Zolt, it sounds like has to happen before I get here.
yes.
Okay, because
You
the
need to be winning so hard that he cannot recover when he flips over.
right.
Generally,
And
once he flips over, the game is not necessarily over, but you're probably going to have trouble doing 5 damage to him.
okay. Okay, yeah, that's so messed up. So, and I guess the other thing that I'm not really considering when I said a second ago that like we're presupposing that he has every card in his deck ready to go to dodge everything. Like you don't need that if your opponent is so afraid to strike into you because they have the possibility of being stunned out or dodged by anything that they can't even like formulate an attack in the first place. So like and this is true of all like threatening attacks in Exceed. You can leverage that to prevent your opponent from striking anyway. But like with Zolt, that almost doesn't even matter because he probably actually just does have the answer.
Yeah,
It's not it's very it seems like it's very rarely an empty threat, and because it's very rarely an empty threat, when it is an empty threat, your opponent kind of has to respect it anyway. They don't have a choice.
yeah. And it's like these two cards together, Spike and Dive. There's
Yeah,
4 copies in the deck. You're probably not using them on your front side if you can help it. And those are your all solve all problems. So that's for at least 4 strikes.
right,
A lot of your other cards move you or the opponent, and generally that's good enough in most cases. Like
right,
cross and cross up and whip crack will generally move your opponent to a place where they can't hit you. They have to
right,
be able to tank consistently 6 to 7 damage because that's usually how much your attacks will end up doing by the end of it.
right,
So if you don't do that, then you still get stunned. Um, he gets advantage. So if even if you block and don't get stunned by Spike, he's going to draw a card off of his transform if he has it. He's going to fill up his gauge, and then you are still have to defend yourself again against him with a
right.
lower hand size, where it doesn't matter as much for him because all of his card quality is good.
So when you're executing these combos, as Zolt, are you like so there's this idea in Exceed like Rekka effects, like I don't know, like triple kick on Giovanna, where it's like you are spending to a break point, right? You are trying to reach a point where you hit 5 damage so that the 4 guard thing that your opponent defended with no longer works, and you won't spend any more than that.
Yeah.
With Zolt, because you're getting gauge from the attack, are you basically always spending 2, getting 2 things in gauge, as long as you're getting some kind of value out of um, the 2 things you're spending, or are you more likely to just spend the thing you need to dodge the opponent and that's it?
Usually you just spend what you need. I mean, you can get extra value out of it. Typically, you slap an advantage on it, or
Okay,
sometimes I've seen people slap focus or sweep on it to either take a card out of the opponent's hand or draw a card to cycle through their deck. You can slap Gunblaze on it if they went first to get more cards or to close or whatever.
right.
Um, and yeah, I mean,
Okay, but most of the time, um, you
if you beat your
aren't
opponent, you don't need to. Yeah,
right. Most of the time, you're not trying to um, play just for the gauge because it is still force negative for you overall because you're spending a force to do it in the first place. You'd rather not do that.
yeah. I also forgot to mention, I guess, this transform where it says you get advantage draw a card. Even if the advantage does nothing for you, you draw a card. So if you defend yourself and get advantage, you still draw a
Mm,
card.
sure. Okay, that's true.
So Fatal
So
Eye is on defense, draw a
even
card.
more upside.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that is unreal in terms of like I feel like there are a couple of season 1 characters. Juno is the one I'm thinking of, who has like a more oppressive late game. But that's unbelievably scary.
Yeah. It almost feels I mean it is unfair, but like
Right.
if you play against a good Zolt player, and I'm sure there's a bunch from the old days around that still know how to play Zolt pretty well.
Yeah.
And you like play normally, you're playing neutral, you're playing your game, you're winning, you're like, he's a 10 life, I'm a 20 life. And then Zolt flips over, and then you're like, I don't feel like I can play this game anymore. And that's a very common feeling.
Yeah.
Like it was so common that there was an entire FAQ page dedicated to Zolt because a lot of his things are confusing with, executing attack, not playing an
Yeah.
attack. And
And like they're confusing, but also when you explain it to somebody, there's this there's this reaction in your gut that's like that can't be how it works because that's too
uh
good and scary. There's no way that's how the game works.
yeah.
That's very funny.
And Zolt is honestly pretty fun to pilot for a while.
I was going
He
to say it
does,
seems like I would really enjoy doing this once or twice.
yeah. It's like playing like a really cool game of like weird solitaire where you're like, oh, this is really neat, and then you play it like 3 times and you're like, this is kind of similar to what I already did,
Right.
and it's getting a little old.
I kind of get it now. My opponent is not having fun anyway. Exceed is
Yeah,
supposed to be a 2 player game. There's supposed to be interaction. That's not happening.
yeah,
Okay. So, like, there's a novelty to Exceed being bent into this bizarre, like, contorted shape. But you need to be a certain kind of person to enjoy, like, long term Zolt play, it sounds like.
yeah. You also don't really play Exceed as Zolt because it's like the best way that people play Zolt is you never strike. You only change cards and look for your transforms. You transform them so you don't lose life,
Right.
and then you exceed and you start killing your opponent.
Right.
That's like the ideal Zolt line. And once you start killing your opponent, it's kind of just you play solitaire.
Yeah.
So in like the perfect, this is how you play Zolt. This is how you win the game. You never actually play real exceed.
Right. And presumably, people are watching, this 103rd episode of XS Exceed because they like Exceed and they want to play it.
Yeah,
So there might be sort of like that's kind of at odds with what you want to be doing as Zolt. Um, it sounds like it's something that you could do for fun for a little while, and I'm down to
yeah,
try it. But I understand, like, especially if everybody in a tournament is doing it, it's like, oh my god, what game are we playing?
yeah. It usually was that both players had a Zolt, and you either ended up playing the Zolt mirror or you basically had to beat the other character twice.
Right.
Um, and it was just very frustrating. If you managed to beat Zsolt once with your first character, then they would play them again, and you had to beat them again. That was very rare that you would do that 2 times in a row,
Sure. Okay.
and it was just frustrating.
Okay. So that's like the engine, and that is the
Yeah,
Zolt line. That is what we're trying to do. And once we get there, it's very freeform and freestyle, but it probably just involves uninteractively killing our opponent.
yeah.
Um, Tell me a little bit about. I know about spike and dive. That's like the plan. But tell me about how I'm using my normals as Zolt relative to how other characters might be doing it.
Okay. On your front side, just trying to confirm with stuff. Assault is really good for that. Crossing grass are really good for that. Sweep is really good for that. Focus is really good for that.
Right.
Block is really good for that. Dive and spike are not,
How
but as you might
convenient that
notice,
the two that I
yeah,
don't want to play.
exactly.
Okay.
It's very convenient. And the cards that you don't really care about are the
Right.
ones that are the best when you're exceeded.
Right. Okay.
Um, and it's just like hitting with them is good. Boosting light to confirm one of your transforms is good. Not taking damage is good. Getting out of the way so you don't explode, also good. Grass is
Right.
good because it beats sweep now because you're on your front side.
Right.
Um, and then, when you flip over, this moves them 2. This retreats you 3. This is also a really fast attack, so you can initiate with this and then beat their sweep by spiking them.
Right.
Um, Sweep takes a card out of their hand. Also, it has light on it. You can boost the light so you automatically go first and then hit them and then just do nonsense to them.
Right.
Um, Dive and spike, as we said, just win you the game pretty much when you're in exceed mode because you either go over them or you stun them.
Right.
Assault is another form of advantage. You usually slap this on at the end of your attack so you have advantage and you go again. Um, Focus is not particularly as useful in your exceed mode. Generally, you play it as an option on defense and then you throw other things at them if you need to. Um, you don't read that much as Zol unless you're on front side and like the game has gone on long enough, or you saw their hand for some reason. Um,
You just have better things to do on your turn in exceed mode
yeah.
than reading them.
Mhm.
Okay.
Parry can be useful because there are cards that Zolt can't deal with. Usually, those are speed traps, ultras that just say "I win," which do exist in the game. They're usually really expensive, or like on characters that don't have as good cards,
Yep.
or specific specials that are just like also not fair.
Right.
Uh,
Or
where
you're up against somebody who has a really key transform. If you are up against Joffrey and you really don't want to deal with compulsive purification, um, I feel like Parry Inquisition is like one of the most
yeah,
said phrases in the
getting
history of Exceed.
getting rid of a specific transform is yeah, like cards like this. This is what Zolt needs to not have to fight.
Right.
And like this doesn't really exist in the modern Exceed, but
Right.
there are cards that
This didn't even exist. This is the eye that Fatal Eye is based on.
yes,
Yeah. This didn't even exist in season 2.
uh,
Okay.
but like there are cards that are similar not to this that are ultras or just like situational versions of I win now because this
Right.
card is good.
Right.
Um, and those are the things that Zolt can't deal with, and that's what Perry is for, generally. So, you know, you can also throw this card on your attack to block things because
Makes
why not?
sense.
Yeah,
And then obviously tech is for
yeah,
everything you just said about this attack, but whatever boost you absolutely can't deal with.
yeah.
Okay.
Like
And obviously you'd
even
prefer not to do that because dive is a great way to win a strike.
yeah,
Okay. That
yeah,
makes sense to me. So really like the he uses normals the way a person who at the beginning of the game is starved for gauge and wants resources and doesn't want to die would. And then he
uh,
uses normals the way a person who can staple any effect from any attack onto any other attack would.
and funny
So
enough, there are other characters that could do that. But
yeah,
yeah,
you got like Equus, you got a couple characters who can do that kind of thing.
yeah, Late Night, Yaquis,
Yep.
Amina.
Yep. Sure. Okay. So all right, so that's our normals. That's the line. That's the all the cards in the kit. The other big question I have, we've kind of already talked about, is about economy. So you said that like the default Zolt line is just change cards over and over again, look for your key transforms, um, and then run your opponent over in exceed mode, hoping that the gauge you're generating from hitting is going to keep the game
I
going
you know
long enough so that your opponent dies before you run out of force.
I think it was D. It might have been someone else. that was explaining Zol to me before the tournament because I'd asked for someone that knows how to play him well to explain it to me. And their explanation was for the first half of the game, Zolt is looking for his motorcycle keys. And then once he finds them, he runs you over and you're dead.
Okay. Yeah, no, that tracks pretty well. All right. So somewhere in your deck is your motorcycle keys. You're looking for them, you're digging to find them. Now you've got it. You're no longer changing cards. You're changing
Yeah.
cards by getting a lot of gauge.
Yeah. And
Okay.
like you can change cards with your gauge, worst comes to worst, to draw more cards, and
Right.
then just use them for force.
Right.
Um,
And obviously, so Zolt with 5 life or less has seen red.
yeah,
Economic issues over at that point.
you will be, yeah, like it will happen that you're like, all right, he's at 3 life. Please don't have it. He'll boost one seeing red. He'll draw the other seeing red. He'll boost the other seeing red, and you're like, all right, just kill me.
Right.
I'm
Yeah. The game must be over by now. You have the resources. I
yeah,
concede. Okay.
yeah. He
So
probably
Zolt
has like 15 cards in his hand after boosting 2 of these, and
so
like that
Zolt
is a lot.
Zolt doesn't have real economic problems as long as you're playing to do the thing that Zolt should be doing, it sounds
Yeah.
like. Um it like if you are trying to play Exceed, which you shouldn't do as Zolt, he might
Yeah.
actually run into some economic problems, but um not for the line that we're talking about.
Hmm.
Okay. Okay. That makes sense. All right. Any other kind of like large scale like strategic considerations or anything like that about Zolt, or should we talk counterplay?
I think we can get to counterplay.
Yeah, please,
Yes.
for the love of God, Faust, tell me what to do to stop this guy. I feel
Um,
like the way that you talked about this at the beginning of the lesson was not you played a lot of Zolt. It was you played against Zolt a lot.
I
So
have played against this man more than I think any other character in this game.
so yeah, this is the important. But I'll put in the title of the video like counterplay starts at an hour and 26 minutes.
Yeah. So Zolt has a few lines of counterplay.
Okay.
The issue is that even if you play your counterplay the best you can, just playing Exceed as Zolt will probably eventually hate you because he's got good cards.
Yeah, and
Um,
Exceed is a game where it's built on trading. It's you'll
yeah.
just play it to like both players' life totals will trend down because they're both hitting. That's how the game works.
Mhm. It's like the best to play counterplay to Zolt is to perfect your opponent, and that doesn't happen.
No, very rarely.
Yeah. Um, But denying Zolt his transforms is very good. He has no recursion, so if both copies are down, then he can't get it until he reshuffles, which usually doesn't happen until he tries to exceed. Opening with a parry to get either whip crack or cross up out of his hand is pretty good if you think he has them. Defending with a cross on defense so he doesn't get either of these two in play immediately is pretty good. Albeit, again, he's going to set up and start changing cards if he knows what he's doing. So you have to get back in, which means you don't have cross. So you have to walk or have a projectile.
Right.
Um, just playing a card that dodges or cleanly beats your opponent or boosting so that your opponent can't strike into you without taking an absurd amount of damage is another way to get Zolt, because if he's dead before he exceeds, then he doesn't get to win. It's very hard to do that.
Yeah, it's I like similar to like the real counterplay is perfecting him. The other real counterplay is to beat him before he beats you.
And while he's got decent attacks, his UA isn't really helping any of his specials.
Right.
And he doesn't have any stat boosts on any of his cards. So the fact that his cards are good is like I assume to make up for that. But if your cards were just absurd too, he doesn't beat you when he's
Right.
in his front side.
Right. And there are characters who like our training dummy here, Ryu, like
Yeah,
Bang. There are characters who have insane card quality and the boosts to back them up.
yeah. Ryu, Bang, Bison.
Sure.
Um, let's see. Shovel and Shield Knight are a pretty good matchup for them. Shovel and Shield Knight actually have one of the few like Omni answers to Zol, which is Boomerang, like Shield
Oh,
Boomerang.
right, because you can't move Shield Knight with Grasp
Yeah,
or anything.
yeah. You have to move Zolt, but then you have to hit to use his ability. If you don't hit, you don't get to use
Right.
extra attacks.
Right. Okay. So
Um,
like range dodges or things like that you might be able to get around if you're careful. but
Yeah.
Shield Boomerang is like basically non-interactive when you're set up with it. Okay, that's good to know.
Lu- Lucia was a very common counter to Zolt back then because she's got Ride the Lightning, which is the Speed 8 Ultra, which
Yep,
again he can get the Speed 8 by paying a force with this, but he has to anticipate that.
yep.
And she also had Lightning Gun? The Firefly Gunner, I think it
Oh,
is. Yeah.
attacks at range 4 and 5, 3 and 4, something like that don't hit you.
3 and 4 don't hit you.
Yeah,
So if he initiated with an attack that has to hit, he doesn't hit her, and then she can just hit him back, and she doesn't get any of the
right.
other abilities.
Now you've at least turned it into a mix-up, and you can win a
Mm.
mix-up.
Yeah. I've also seen Enkidu be pretty good against him, albeit that the matchup doesn't happen very often
Sure.
because Enkidu just has so many random answers in his kit. He's got Thunder Stomp where the opponent can't move. He's
Yep.
got a speed dodge. He's got a speed 6 attack that's got ridiculous guard if he has enough 3 precept strikes. He's
Mm.
got a 6 armor DP Ultra.
Ultra, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the sort of going wisdom about Under Night. They don't have parry in that season, and so they're kind of lacking a universal defensive answer to like stuff that the designers didn't anticipate them needing to have to deal with. Like it's a parry's like an amazing band aid. So because they
Mm.
don't have that amazing band aid, they have all these weird little uh dodges and get out of jail free cards, and it turns out that against Zolt, all those weird little get out of jail free cards are really, really important.
Yeah, you can also zone him. I mean, he can't really hit you past range 4 unless he has his Ultra. And again, if he's playing a raw Ultra, you might take a bunch of damage, but he uses 3 gauge,
Right. And
which is a big
that's super,
deal.
super important to you.
I would probably trade 7 health to get rid of 3 of Zolt's gauge.
Yeah.
Um, so, like, obviously Axel's a strong character, but someone that has the ability to zone someone hard enough that they can't hit you is like Axel new 13. Cammy can do it pretty well.
Yep.
Um,
Honestly, again, our training dummy Ryu, like that exact
yeah,
same circumstance of are you cross out turn one to deny one of these transforms, and now Zolt's changing cards.
Hadouken.
Meanwhile, Ryu is just Hadoukening him until he
Yeah,
has to come in.
yeah. I think Carl was also really good against Zolt in the day because he's got the range DP that goes back to his hand.
Oh,
He's got
coffee. Right.
yeah. He's got the one that runs him in. He's got a ridiculous amount of close range options
Yep.
that Zolt doesn't have answers to.
Yep.
Like Zolt doesn't have an answer to everything on front side, and that's generally his big weakness. Is that
Right.
before he turns into God mode, he is mortal.
So if you have a character who has the ability to make him play Exceed, to make him actually throw mix-ups and have to worry about what you're doing, you have a chance. It might be an uphill battle, it might be tough, but you can do it.
Yeah. There are other options too. If your opponent is playing Zolt, I don't think they're going to complain about you playing some of the more unfair characters.
Great.
I mean, like Heidi can do like 6 readings, 6 to 12 readings a game, which is a very large number of readings. Um, Zoe has replay the same speed 7 for the rest of the game forever that
Right.
Zolt doesn't have a million speed 7 copies of. Um, like Minato can play the same card infinitely if he wants to. He's just a little bit harder. Um, you know, if you're playing at a higher power level, then he's not quite as good because he's mortal on his front side and he doesn't get to have unfair things until he exceeds.
Right. So if your character has jank, basically,
Yeah.
and that jank could be weird sort of speed dodges and stuff from season 6, or it could be like the most busted stuff ever printed in Exceed.
Yeah.
You can play against him.
Yeah, like this. If this is one of your specials, you can make your opponent.
Well, if this is one of your specials, or if this is one of your boosts, if what you're if what you're worried about is uh Zolt having too much gauge, what's the it's the other one. It's Soul Eye Divine, the one that can make you play an ultra.
This one can. This is one that can do it. Name a card your opponent will strike with a name
Oh
card.
yeah. It's
Yeah,
super reading. Yeah, okay. It's
yeah,
not the super parry. Okay, yeah. No, Soul Eye Diabolic You
Yeah,
you
and
boost that, make him play the Wild Hunt.
yeah, and I know we keep referencing Alice. Alice is a significantly better character than Zolt. It's like Zolt can hang out with them.
Yeah,
Like if you're a good
which says a
player,
lot.
yeah, he's like there's a subset of characters generally from each season that it's like this character is not quite broken enough to be immediately banned,
Right.
but they're just over the edge that they're probably not healthy for play in that season. Like season one obviously had a lot because it was season one and like it was the Wild West of Exceed.
Yeah, people are
Um,
figuring it out.
yeah, season two had Zolt and Remulus and Minato and Renea, who were all like somewhat over what a character should be, but maybe not enough. Season three didn't really have anyone that was that bad.
Yeah.
Um, season four, at least in our meta, fight was like the big fight and beheaded with like the boogeymen of our scene, and their win rates were like over 80%. Season five had Vang. Season six had Carmine, who's actually
Yeah,
banned.
Carmine was actually banned. I feel
Yeah,
like Carmine reaches a like a vaunted status that even these other ones do not reach.
yeah, and then Axel is the season seven boogeyman.
Right.
Although I've also seen Chip also be talked about before,
Yep.
but like Zolt falls into that range. So you want to play Zolt, go for it. You have to basically tell your friends, hey, you might not have a good time,
Yeah. When
or
we're
like
talking
give
about
the
these characters, the thing I tend to say is like, please Zolt responsibly.
or
Um,
like give them something that they can also play with that's really cool, like a boss character or like some other season
sure.
character that's like really
Yeah.
strong.
Or make sure that like you're providing the pizza that night or something.
Yeah.
Okay. So
And
there's a transactional element to Zolt that we need to respect here.
but overall, like I do think that Zolt, it's a good thing that he existed. I don't wish that, the character didn't exist because it taught us a lesson about being able to play against a character like this where they have an end goal and
Yeah.
you have to prevent them from getting there. There's not a lot of other characters in the game that exist nowadays that are like, I am unbeatable once I reach this goal.
Right.
Usually they have like a boost in power and then go back down.
Right.
Um, but
They
like,
they they hit a crucial gauge threshold to be able to play an ultra that beats everything, but then they've done it, and now it's over.
yeah. And even like some of the characters that have unbeatable states usually don't stay there forever. Like season five characters like Arcune or Hakumen are like it's ridiculously hard to fight them when they're in their super
Right.
mode and it goes
And
away.
that'll take a couple turns.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Um,
That makes sense.
so it's kind of just a good from a design point that the lesson was learned. Don't have this last forever, or don't make it quite as good as it was.
Right.
Um, and it's a teaching moment of one patience because God, you have to have patience to play against this character. Um, and two, just like there are characters that don't want to play Exceed, and there's not a lot of them left, but there are characters that do that, and you have to force them to play Exceed with you because this is Exceed, and you have to play the game.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I think that's kind of a good general description for a lot of his stuff. Um, and he's not an easy character to play. You can absolutely mess up if you don't play it well. Getting him to his Exceed mode is sometimes hard. Playing with his Exceed mode is sometimes hard if you haven't done it before. But once you kind of know how to do it, it's not like it's a giant puzzle that's hard to put together afterwards, which is where
Right.
you said it's linear, there's one goal, and it's what was the other thing?
Uninteractive.
Uninteractive, where you basically just play solitaire with your opponent, but your opponent stares at your
Right.
solitaire board.
It's possible for you to lose with Zolt. I guess sometimes it's also possible for your opponent to beat you with Zolt, but like those are two non-overlapping things. You can lose at solitaire.
Yeah.
Um, and you might as you get good with him. Once you beat solitaire, once you figure out the solitaire, now it is on your opponent to beat you, and that might be tough.
Yeah, that's a good description.
Yeah. Well,
All
Faust,
right.
thank you so much. Is there anything
We
else you wanted to mention before we wrapped it
yeah,
up?
we always have to get to the hey, if you like Zolt or if you want characters that are similar, we got some of those too.
Yeah, tell me a little bit, especially with a character with this kind of design lineage. I know like uh who was it? I was talking to Anderel about, oh, it was Propeller Knight recently, who
Hmm.
he told me is basically like Fair Alice. Propeller
Yeah,
Knight's design lineage is directly from this character who was clearly overpowered when they were printed. Let's give him another shot.
yeah. Alice's
Um,
ability is almost 1-to-1 Propeller Knight.
yeah. Are there other characters who have kind of like taken what Zsolt is trying to do and uh sort of tuned it up a little bit for more modern Exceed?
There is, and it's very funny that there's only one other character that has Zolt the text on Zolt's uh,
Oh
back,
my
and
god.
that's Dan. The
I
text
knew that
on
I
Leg
saw execute an attack somewhere
yeah,
before.
the text on Legendary Taunt is you may play and execute an attack, which means again you can play one of Dan's ultras without paying their cost. I think this is the only other time in Exceed that execute an attack has been printed.
Yeah, it's
Um,
rare.
but this is a very fair version of it, especially because it's on Dan, who is a very inconsistent character. That
Right.
yeah,
And this is a one-time effect. It's an ultra. It's
yeah.
not an exceed mode.
And it's like, all right, it's basically get some armor and guard on something, and then play it after you know what your opponent's going to do.
Sure, yeah, you still get the option select. It's still very strong. I know
Yeah,
my friend Rose really, really loves that ultra, and that's one of the main reasons she plays Dan. But
yeah,
not quite the same as what Zolt is doing. So like if you're looking for that kind of effect, you do have Dan, which is awesome.
yeah.
Um,
But there
who
are a lot of
else?
other characters that are similar to Zolt's, staple something together and make an attack that exists.
Sure,
Yaquis has his Exceed mode. Uh,
and pull
oh,
it out.
there we
Sec.
go. Yep. Ayakas has the C mode, which is you can discard a card to add its before hit and after effects to the attack. It's not exactly the same, but it's similar.
Right.
You execute what's on the card at the same speed, and it makes the attack better.
Yeah, and
Now,
it feels kind of like a build your own combo thing, which is definitely like the fantasy that Zolt is living out.
yeah, you don't get to put a spike on something because the spike is not a before hit or after, but you
Right.
do get to put dive on it, which is good. So Yakuza is good. Yakuza's front side is also like actually usable and very good. I've seen people just play him without flipping, so
Totally.
he's definitely more fair. Um, Plague Knight also has a very similar vibe where he doesn't get to pick the card, but he really does get to pick the card. We already had a lesson with him, but
Yes. Yeah, that was
this
one
is
of our
not
first ones
actually
together.
yeah. This is not actually random, but it says it's random, where you discard a card and add all its triggers to your attack, and then you can add two of them on a succeed mode.
Yep.
And if you want to make some nonsense attack that your opponent can't beat, but also play more fair, Plague Knight is very good. We have a lot of Plague Knight players in our community, and it's very fun to watch someone get to play him. I think this is probably the most like fair version of a character that is similar to Zol. And Plague Knight's not weak at all either. He's like one of the stronger characters from 4. So like the fact that he's a fair version and he's still one of the stronger characters from a season
Says a lot.
is yeah.
Yeah.
Um, is there anyone else that gets to staple things together? Um, I guess Amina kind of does. It's a little weird her thing that does that. Although she's another season too. Uh, in
Hey,
Exceed
she got
mode, yeah.
her Dreamlands.
Yep. In Exceed mode, she can put a card in her Dreamlands and then seal it to add its effects to her attack. So you can, staple things together to make some weird and wacky stuff. And Amina's got a lot of really weird effects on her cards, which makes
Right.
sense. Eldritch Monstrosity.
Eldritch Horror, sure.
Yeah. Um, but again, a season 2 character. Amina plays a lot more Exceed than Zolt, but she can also not play Exceed if she wants to. Um, so yeah. Oh. Actually, I can't believe I forgot. Um, the two characters that Zolt, at least I remember when we were doing season 5 testing. There's a character that's based off Zolt. Uh, Noel. I have so many things in my hand that I can't delete things. God. Nope. Noel's ability. When you initiate a strike, you may spend one gauge to get one speed, which is
That
almost,
that sure looks an awful lot like press the attack.
yeah, it's just not, it's gauge and not force.
Right.
And it's still got like the same application where it's like you don't do it all the time, but it's good. And then this is basically the combo your opponent to death, and they can do nothing about it.
Sure. Yeah, lot more interactive. Weirdly enough, I've seen a
Yeah,
lot of Noelle games where she does this, and then by the end of her exceed mode, first of all, it's time limited, but by the end of her exceed mode, she has less life than her opponent does.
yeah, and her card quality is just kind of less than Zsolt
Sure.
because one, she's got boosts, and two, like she gets some action compression with her other stuff. Um, so it's like again a more fair version of combo your opponent to death. If that's the thing that Zsolt does that you like, of just like playing a bunch of attacks back to back to back to back to back,
Right.
and you know, bouncing your opponent all over the board. Um, and then Milia can also kind of do that. I actually really would love to meet a Milia player that does well. It's not to say that the people that have played Milia in our scene are not good players. I've just never seen Milia do well.
Yeah.
Um,
And a lot of people, I do know some very good Milia players. Andorel's one, Poulter's one. Um, uh, a lot of them don't exceed very often. To get that advantage effect, a lot of them are much more focused on the cancel chain part of Milia.
yeah. So it's like, a lot of different parts of Zolt's can have been pulled apart and put elsewhere because having them all be combined into one monstrosity that runs you over with a motorcycle and then plays solitaire is
Right.
not okay.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
doesn't feel super good. The other
Yeah.
one that I wanted to shout out, like speaking of like little pieces of design lineage, Fatal Eye reminds me a lot of Bang Style Shuriken.
Yeah.
Um, and specifically the okay, I've put Bang Style Shuriken out, and now as its before effect, I play Run to dodge out of the way of your thing. That feels very much like what Zolt's
Yeah. It's a
doing in his
very
succeed
Zolt
mode.
thing. Yeah. Um, I mean, there's not a lot of characters with weird option selects that happen during a strike. You
Yeah,
have like Bang and Carmine are like most of the two that I know from like the
like
later
more recent
seasons.
seasons.
I mean, Chip actually has a bunch, but that's Chip's whole gimmick is
Right,
that he's a moving option select.
right,
Um, it's because they're really good, and being able to know what your opponent can do before
yeah.
you should make your decision is strong.
Actually, I mean, the first character that we brought up in this whole lesson was Chip because of
Yeah.
Zolt's frontside character ability. So
Mhm.
there's clearly something there too,
Yeah.
and he's got like Zolt has a lot of incentive to dodge effects in the dodge attacks in the early game. So I feel like there's probably some Zolt in Chip too.
I would love to see some weird twisted family tree from like season 1 and 2 to show where
Yeah,
like
like
designs.
where these cards went.
Yeah, like all the different designs from Zolt getting put into other kits.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Zolt as like the mitochondrial Eve of Exceed.
Um,
That would be really fun. Um, yeah, so I mean, if you do like Zolt, or if you like these characters, and you're a Milia main and want to go back and experience sort of a weird like
time in
uh,
the food's
a weird
history.
throwback to what
Yeah.
Exceed used to be, maybe check out Zolt for a little bit. Just make sure your opponent's good with it. Make sure you Zolt responsibly.
Um,
Um, yeah, well, Faust, I think I've got what I need. I think I'm suitably afraid of Zolt now. I understand why he's so infamous. Finally,
mhm.
um, thank you so much for your time, for your expertise, but also for getting on at the very last minute to be able to fill in a gap in my schedule. So thank you so much.
Good thing.
Yeah, really, really appreciate it. Always a blast talking to you. Um, Folks at home, I hope you enjoyed yourself. I hope you learned something. I hope you too are suitably afraid of Zolt now. I will see you all for the next one. Uh, Good night and goodbye, everybody.